discuss with the ones you've been seeing up here about how it's actually to work with established companies. In my past life before SeedStars, I used to be an innovation consultant, so that means I actually help corporates to be more innovative. And some of them were working with startups or slowly starting to work with startups. And it was sometimes really funny because these established managers, these executives in their suits, they were sometimes so scared of these weird dudes and gals walking around in like jeans, totally crazy in the office, eating pizza. And we tried to help them to understand the culture and what kind of value the startups bring. So now I'm really excited to talk to these 4 founders how it is to sit on the other side and how they can create, as a startup, value for established companies. So I would like to invite back up on stage Alex from Cargo, Sid from Hungry Hub, Nan from Event Banana, and Sheran from Layup. Hello, back up here.
Hello.
Hi. So the first thing that I would like to discuss with you is how it is for you as a startup, as a young company, to provide value to these huge companies, all corporations with loads of traditions and complex processes. Sheran, do you want to start?
Sure, I can do that. I think when you compare like B2C with B2B, one of the big things that I see is that a lot of the large, slow-moving companies are still slow to adapt change, and that creates an interesting opportunity because you can then take a small piece and try and solve that problem, and then present that to companies. And I think the world is also moving, like from an IT perspective at least, it's moving to a more microservices type approach. So that presents an interesting opportunity.
Thank you. Alex, how is it for Cargo? How would you say is it for a startup to provide value for companies?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. With the B2B compared to B2C, the B2B it's so much more complicated and bigger, and there's a lot more problems. So it's sort of easier to get in there and try and tackle those problems. And the lucky thing about Myanmar is that it is still a very old traditional place where technology is still very new. So we try and present ourselves to the B2B with this brand new, just having a service of us being there to help them. Although the training of the technology comes later, but getting in there and solving those problems for them is just such a game changer for them. Then they really see the value easily and really want to switch over.
Cool, it's great. It's so easy for you guys. Easy is maybe not the
so
right
easy.
word. So Sid, you're actually on both sides, so you're B2C and B2B. So about the B2B side, how is it for you when you come into restaurants and you explain it to them, what kind of value you create?
Okay, so the good thing about B2B is it's probably less marketing costs, but more time, more effort compared to like B2C, because B2C you have to let the mass know. You can't just keep quiet. You have to be out there about, in the media, PR, whatever. But for B2B, it's about cold calling, getting a lot of rejection, and just, having that cold face that you just gotta keep going. And for us in Thailand, in the restaurant space, it's a little bit tougher because they've had a lot of bad experience with like Groupon and Sogo used to be in Thailand, and like a lot of restaurants kind of have this negative connotation of working with another application or another website. So that's been the challenge in the beginning. So we have to we have to get the early adopters to prove to the rest of the guys that, hey, it works. Let them go and try. Gotta really convince them to experience, and once they experience, then so it's a little bit of a longer cycle than it would have been 3 years ago, going to present something totally new like what Alex said in Myanmar. So in Thailand, restaurant space, a little bit skeptical from the B2B side.
Okay, so you're kind of picking up what the others have left and stitching together the wounds.
Yep.
Yeah. How is that for you, Nan, and for Event Banana? How can you help to create value for established companies?
Okay, so in our case, what we help to the company is that we allow them to do other things that have more values to the company. So for example, if the marketing department, right, they need to organize some activities. So let's say workshop for their premium customers. What we're trying to do is we take away not so value-added activities by providing them the services that we can help them organize the activities, choose the best locations, the venues, and provide other services that related to that day as well. So the team, the core team of the marketing, they can more focus on, okay, what kind of activities they want to do, what are the main objectives. So rather than like spending 3-4 days calling so many venues, check the price, do the quotations comparison, those are very like old and outdated process, and that's what the main value that we want to bring to the B2B customers.
Yeah. Moving on from the basic value proposition, I have the feeling from the startup side it often seems that corporates are very, very slow. However, in reality, the needs of businesses are ever changing. And I would also like to hear how is that from your side as delivering value to corporates? How do you deal with that? Sheran, could you maybe?
Sure. So how we look at it is that, so we try and solve this from a technology perspective. We've built our application using a multi-tenancy architecture, which means that we have like a single code base where when we build modules for customers, we can roll it out to the entire ecosystem all at once. So that way we can stay current, and maybe one customer would pay for one feature, but the entire ecosystem would benefit from that. And if you have 10 customers on board, then at the end of the year, a business would get 10 different features. So that way it helps us to stay current, and also there's a lot of cross-learning from organizations, and then through our platform, we let them enable and disable the features that they want based on what works for them. So that's the way that we solve that.
That's cool how you have adapted that. So moving on from how to provide value, how is it actually to do B2B sales and work with corporates? So you've already mentioned a bit how it is to do the sales part and how you picked up the shambles that others have left. So I would really like to know, how do you present your idea to B2B customers other than B2C? Alex, could you maybe provide some insights for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit different in Myanmar. We've learned that we have to go round sort of the other way. Although our product is the technology, the platform for them to use and sort of do their deliveries through that technology, but they're not really ready for that yet. Nobody has that. So we go around the other way, where we recruit like so the traditional B2B sales of going out to the businesses and speaking with them. But what we do is they're aware that we have technology, but they don't understand it yet. So we say, come on board, this is the service we're offering. You can do it through one supplier, us. Because in Myanmar, the businesses have multiple suppliers, which is a real headache for them. So we offer them, we're one supplier, one contact. And then we do the same thing with the drivers to say, you do a few orders with us and sort of build the trust that we're going to deliver these orders for you. We do a few of those first manually through our team, through phones, through the way they do it. They've been doing it for a while. And then we introduce the training of the technology and show them that this is how it's linked to that value. So we sort of go around the other way, do very traditional manual, and then we onboard them with the technology.
Yeah. And I remember when we had a phone call to prepare for the panel that you guys actually said, as soon as you have stats providing how they can increase their revenue or cut down costs, cut down labor hours, that it really helps.
Price.
Yeah. So what I'm also interested in is what are the challenges when you work with corporates? We've already discussed a little bit how the cultures are different. So what would you say, what are the biggest challenges, Sid, when you work with corporates?
I mean, I think this is common. I used to be on the corporate side as well. One of the biggest concern is the process that takes to get approvals for any deals. Like for me, I work with restaurant owners that are single owners with like 10 partners, or like a company owning the restaurant. So I deal with different levels of business side, and the challenge is always the one that is a corporate, because it's very hard to meet the top guy in the person who really makes the decision. So when you meet the bottom person or even the middle person, you don't know what goes behind the discussions, and the message is not clearly transferred from you to the top guy, and hence the decision somehow just gets dropped off without you knowing the reason. So the process, the internal process that it takes to get the deal, and sometimes I meet the top guy some other time randomly, and they're like, no, that's not what I heard. Yeah. So it's like, and then somehow we work out the deal later on. So it's just a matter of being able to reach the top person's communication, like get that person on board is very, very difficult. And the documentation, the accounting process, the legality of contracts, it's much more complicated. Even though we have like a one-page contract, it still takes them forever to get it signed.
Yeah, I know that. We recently did business in Kazakhstan, and we needed 15 signatures from our client. Crazy, right? Yeah, so I remember, Sheran, in the pavilion, you also mentioned that your sales cycles are really long because, yeah, like you mentioned, it just takes them forever. In your case, up to 1 year. So what would you say, what are your learnings from cooperating directly with big companies?
Sure, I think in general, B2B sales cycles are fairly long. And there's also sometimes an inherent risk for companies working with startups. So we do a couple of things to try and mitigate that. One thing is that once we sign an agreement, we ask for payment upfront for the first year. And the other thing is that in order to get our foot into the door, we would give like a free POC for a while, like a proof of concept. So that way, companies don't have to take a big investment risk, and they can try out a product, and if it actually works for them, then we also make the connections with who are the key decision makers or the C-level executives that are the decision makers in the process. And then also we can then go back to them and tell them this is how it's useful for your business and how you can increase your operational efficiency. And we use that as a means of like driving adoption.
Yeah. Nan, how is that for you, especially also with your background of being a business consultant, so you know it really well, you've worked on the processes, I guess, before, helping them to make it smoother. And now that you're on the other side, what are your learnings, how to do the sales and how to work with corporates in general?
I think for the corporates, what is very different from the B2C customers' perspective is that sometimes they don't choose because you are the cheapest. I think it can be a good thing for doing the business with B2B as well, because as soon as you know what's the main value that they're looking for. So for example, they want to get the best solution, for example, or they want the best or most convenient solutions for this particular case, then you can be chosen because you can provide what they're looking for. You don't have to be like cut price all the time just to win the projects. And I think as long as you know your clients well and you can like tailor-made on what's your want to propose to them, then you can win the project easily.
Yeah, and looping back to what Sid said, that you're often not in touch with the highest person, so it's sometimes really hard to read that. So how are you able to find out what the customer eventually wants, like their hidden agenda kinda? Do you have any tricks?
To find out who's the
what they're looking for, whether they're looking for the cheapest solution, the best solution, the most convenient solution. Like, how do you do this? Do you go drinking with them? And
So I think normally, so what we're trying to do is we're trying to use our account executives to start with like making the relationship with maybe at the peer level first. They may not be the decision maker at the end, but they can help us to like frame the solutions or frame the package. And then when the person presents to boss, sometimes we might not be presented by ourselves, right? They will be the one that, okay, this is the 2 options or maybe 3 options, and the person kind of know us very well, and then they can present exactly what we want to provide. Then they can like help us to win the project. So that's how we do it at Event Banana.
Cool, thank you. Another very important subject for all startups is, of course, growth. We've seen that most of our startups who've pitched here on stage have experienced amazing growth over the last few months. So again, congratulations to all of you. And so how do you get started? How did you get your first customer?
When we switched our model from online booking into the all-you-can-eat concept, even though I had a network of about 200 plus restaurants, I had to pitch to 50 restaurants again to get the first customer. And it was like...
It's easier to get a girl, huh?
I don't think I've talked to 50 girls to win one yet. Yeah, but...
So you have a good ratio with women?
I guess so. Yeah, so 50...
Keep going.
To stop that.
Okay, we were talking about 50 restaurant owners.
Yeah, so the main issue, especially in Asian mentality, is that people like to follow what other people have done. So if you don't have a case study or an example, it's a bit more difficult, I would say, in Asia. They're not very risk averse and willing to take on that risk, especially when it's a new concept. Not even like, it's never in Thailand, it's never in the world that has any restaurant done this deal. So for us, it's a little bit of a different case. Even though I know the owners very well. I'm talking to him like a friend, but he's still like, yeah, I still need to talk to my wife or my partner. And the other person who I don't get to talk to still is not comfortable with the idea.
Yeah. So the first few customers are, of course, super important because they help you validate your proposition and your idea. And then you have to take it further in order to scale. Do you want to tell maybe how that has changed your sales process from the first 50 to then the next 1,000?
No, right now we have about 100 restaurant partners, but now every 2 or 3 restaurants we close one. So it's just a matter of time how fast they sign the deal. But now with the numbers, with us also choosing better restaurants, because we know what works, what doesn't work. So it's not only, I wouldn't blame it all on them, that their risk, but also for us, in the beginning, even though we say we know our customers, we don't know until we really validate and try the model for some time.
Yeah, that's, exactly, that's playing into what I want to go to next. It's kind of figuring out how your growth machine works and to experiment and see what kind of strategies really work for you and your customers. So what is really interesting, especially in the markets we're in regarding marketing, it's not only digital solutions that we can use, but also offline. So maybe we first dig into how you're going to do digital marketing, how you're employing digital marketing solutions. Nan, do you want to tell us how Event Banana is deploying them?
Sure. So first, we're trying to use the digital channel because it's cheaper than the offline, and I think there are so many ways that we can get free, free advertising or free visibilities through online. So for example, we can do media interviews, and nowadays, especially in Thailand, the news about startups and how we help the society, the corporates, is very interesting in terms of media perspectives. So we utilize those channels to advertise about Event Banana's products and services, and also we do some content marketing as well. It helps us to reach the right customers, and at the same time it helps to build up our search engine optimization rank in the Google search, which is very important for business like us that we want to be able to find easily online. Yeah.
Cool. I like that you're also deploying content marketing, similar to what you guys are doing, like really creating value basically for your end consumers and informing them. Then another thing that we often see, that especially in the countries where we are active in, is that a lot of offline solutions are still needed as well, because that's where your customers are, and it's not like we here who are all staring at our phones. So how is that working in Myanmar? Like, what are the strategies offline that you're using and that maybe have not worked in the past? What are the learnings that you can share with us?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's still a bit unique, the offline thing, because we've sort of got the two channels, the two customers, the drivers and the clients, the businesses. But for the drivers, you can actually use the one channel a digital channel in Myanmar is Facebook. It's all Facebook, nothing else. So that's nice. But the offline, it really is, we don't really look at traditional offline marketing because the businesses we're looking at are very large kind of industrial businesses. So we do, again, the more traditional sort of sales and business development is sort of our marketing. But what we try and do is, like, with the drivers, we give them shirts and we give them lanyards, we give them, we brand their cars a bit, hats as well. And we try and to spread the word a bit as well. I guess there's two ways to try and get drivers and customers. We've found out where all the locations are and the split ups of all where the types of trucks are. So we send our fleet team guys to those places for a few days, and they sit there and the trucks come in and they just talk to the guys and they learn a lot about where these trucks are and how to recruit them. They tell them about cargo. We have brand ambassadors who sort of go out with their pink shirts and talk to them, and then through that as well, that sort of marketing strategy for the drivers, we actually learn a lot about the businesses and a lot about the trade and volumes of what's going around the country, so then we can go and approach those businesses or markets.
I really love how you're using your pink shirt. So at the event where you pitched and then eventually won, he brought his whole team and they were all wearing the pink cargo t-shirts.
Yeah, it was
and
pretty...
it was the cutest when we announced you guys, and all of them jumped up. It was just pink. The whole crowd was just pink.
Scary.
It was really cool. But it's awesome. So could you also tell us, in Myanmar, how are you expanding in Myanmar, but maybe also regionally? What are some solutions you found here that work for you? Or, again, some tricks and hacks?
For growth?
Yeah.
I mean, really, in Myanmar, it's network kind of thing. It's quite a small community in terms of the business like that. So sort of being established there for a while, we do a lot of drinking with people and try and sign up people that way. That is very true. It's a very small culture like that, and it's sort of to the international companies that are coming in. They're very easy to access, easier I think than more established markets, because they're open to meet new people with new ideas and new technologies, so you can access them a lot easier, so you can really get clients quite fast. I think that's the luck that we've had with that. And with the local companies, I think they're easier to access because they understand now that they need to shift from this old way of doing things to technology. So they're very open to talk to you. So that makes it kind of easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why we've sort of ended up signing up some big players quite quickly and helped our growth.
Yeah, cool. And then an important part of how you grow and when you experiment and what you find out is, of course, also pivoting and diversifying. So what is the experience that you guys have made that, when you talk to specific customers and you experimented with different offerings, how you have pivoted and your business model and diversified?
I think for us, in terms of diversification, so we're in the edtech space, which is a very crowded space when it comes to e-learning solutions. But once you get into it, you realize there are all these other opportunities also that can be explored. So for us, one interesting opportunity is, for example, to work with the labor workforce or the blue-collar workforce, because on the executive layer, our competitors are like the SAPs and Oracles and the big HR and ERP players. Whereas when it comes to blue-collar workers, there's a high staff turnover, and so investing on a per employee per month cost is not something that companies are willing to do. So that's been a really big opportunity for us. And so, for example, in Sri Lanka, we're in the largest hotel chain in Sri Lanka and Maldives, as well as in the largest retail chain. And now we have our first customer in India, and we're planning to grow like that. And also another opportunity for us that we saw was people building other stuff on top of our platform. So for example, with the US healthcare, what we're doing there is that we're looking at the government rating programs like Medicare, where the large insurance providers rate the doctors. And there's a direct correlation between the money that's paid to the doctors and the education that they take. And so we're building customized modules on top of our platform. And we are diversifying like that. So I think diversification is fairly important for any business because you don't want to just stay in one place. You want to maximize the opportunities as much as possible and also apply the learnings across different verticals, different segments, all of that.
Yeah. So we have a few seconds left. So you've already told a bit how you have pivoted from your first booking service and are now in a different space. Then, how was it for you? Have you also diversified your business, and are you trying to somehow open up other revenue streams?
Yeah, so like when we started, we focused just only the venues, and then we build up the inventories of the place to organize the activities, right? Then we feel that to be able to like get the final confirmation from the customers, sometimes it's not that easy for us to convert from inquiries to bookings. But then we trying to find so what else they want, and then we trying to provide those as well. And then we figure out that if we can add more services, like we can also help them to find the caterers, the decoration suppliers, or even like bands and MCs. The more we can add in, the more likely they will say yes to our solutions or our proposals, because we trying to get rid of all the boring activities that they need to do. Like we will become one-stop service platform for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much. And with this, I would like to end and thank all of you for again coming up and sharing here your learnings from your startup journey, little sleep, and lots of drinking, and of course working. So thank you very much to Layup, Cargo, Event Banana, and the next time you're going out for food, please use Hungry Hub. Thank you very much.
Thank you.